My background is 21 years in a tier 1 automotive manufacturer. And when I left there 6 years ago and bought Rolar 7 years ago, that company did not have what this software will do. And they had all the money in the world to spend and develop it. I think they've probably developed it now, but that was 6 years ago, and this is off the shelf. It just works. There isn't anything else you have to do. It just works.
Thank you all for tuning in to MTD CNC in this special episode with my buddy Jack Russell, where we're going to talk about Datanomix. Now, machine monitoring is continuing to grow and become proficient in a lot of shops. It sets companies apart from understanding what's really going on a shop floor to taking guesses about what's going on a shop floor. Jack has been utilizing Datanomix for a few years now, and we're really excited to share with you how it's helped him support what's going on at Rolar Products, but he's also jumped from an 11,000 square foot building into the massive building we're in today, and we're going to talk about if there were any changes with Datanomix. Did it support it more before, more now? Did it make any changes along with the growth, which I think is important to understand because there's a lot of small companies out there right now that say, I don't need machine monitoring. And then a lot of big companies that go, maybe I could use it now, but is there a difference between the two? And if there is, what? So we're going to talk a little bit about those details, the growth of Rolar as a whole, what they do a little bit, and how Datanomix supports all of that. So Jack, thank you so much for being a part of MTD CNC.
Thanks for being here, Tony.
Thanks for having me. Muskegon is an amazing place, and I know you grew up here, so being here and being a part of your home is special for me as well.
Thank you. It's special for us to have you here.
Well, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about just a quick brief about what Rolar is, what you guys do, and then why you decided to implement Datanomix into your factory.
Okay, Rolar Products is a CNC manufacturing company. We've got machines all the way from Swiss multi-axis all the way down to World War II vintage gear hobbers and everything in between. So we machine castings, obviously make gears, do grinding, and in a variety of different industries.
Well, walking around here, I've had the great pleasure to walk around. I see some great star machines, area set up for more to grow. Walking around, as you mentioned, World War II machines where you're able to do 1-offs or 3-offs or 5-offs and some unique characteristics that not a lot of other machine shops can do. And then I walk through and see a ton of CNC machines as well. So the diversity of what you've implemented here, transitioning over to Datanomix, does that support all the aspects of what you're doing?
Absolutely, it does. As we move into more and more new technology and the reshoring effort that we're trying to do, as well as many other companies are trying to do, it's key that we know how efficient we are because we're competing with the best companies in the world. So our strategy is to buy the best, latest, and greatest equipment, monitor those to make sure we're as efficient as we can be, and try to get some of that work back from the work that's gone overseas.
Jack, to me, you made a really valuable point just now, and that's that reshoring, nearshoring, reshoring, bringing it back to the U.S. And I know you've had jobs because there are issues globally right now with getting products done in time, and you've had people message you, call you, say, can you do this for me? You've been able to look with the Datanomix software, with the machines you have, you've been able to get quotes quicker, get jobs to them quicker, and a budget-friendly system to maybe give them an idea to go, you know what? We're not only going to do that now because we're in a struggle, but we're going to do that in the future with Rolar as well.
Correct. And it's also, you point out, you know what your capacity is, but you also can tell where your margins are. So you can go back and look at similar products that you run, even a new job that you're going to quote. Now you can say it's very similar, that's a little bigger, a little smaller, but it's the same operations. We know how that job runs on our equipment, and we can adjust up or down depending on what the market conditions are. So it's an advantage.
That is an advantage. Absolutely right, that's an advantage. To go along with that, I asked you, before we hit record on this thing, I get to get a lot of information to see how we can convey such powerful messages for the audience that loves to tune into MTD. And one of the things that stood out to me was jumping from a smaller location into this larger location. In the last 6 years, you've gone from just a few machines to 40 machines or 40 employees to go along with. The growth has been magnificent, right? But I asked you the question of, what were the changes when you were working with Datanomix on a smaller scale versus a larger scale? And something stood out to me that I thought was really neat was like, just having it on the floor makes all the difference in the world. Would you like to share a little bit about that story?
Well, and I've thought about it. As busy as we've been in moving machines in two different shops, combining into one facility, sitting down and going through all the reports have not been really necessarily high priority. But the unique thing is it's always in front of us. So with Datanomix on the floor, if you don't have conversations today with your employees about efficiency, you will have them once you put this in. And like I've said, we've never had a conversation with our employees about how poorly they're performing. We ask them what's wrong with the machine. So we've never had an issue there, but just always having that up for conversation is a huge advantage. I mean, the reports and all that are almost bonus, and I don't want to tell anybody to buy it. Just put it up and leave it alone, and your efficiencies will improve. But in some cases, maybe a lot of them, that would be true.
You know, what comes to mind is the word accountability. And it's not like we don't want to be accountable for ourselves when we're doing our work, because most people, I would say, do. We're very proud of what we create, right? But sometimes we just don't know what the possibilities could be. And something like Datanomix allows us to go, okay, this is 100% efficiency, this is 90%, this is 80%. Are we reaching our goals? If we're not reaching our goals, we can all see it right here, and how can we do better?
So let me tell you one example that we had when we talk about, we haven't had a conversation with an employee about their performance, right? It's the data is the data. It's always right. It's always from the controller. So we had a machine that we know runs at a very high efficiency, and it was low. And it had been low for a couple of days. And I said to my plant manager, Dylan, I said, what's going on there? So instead of going to the operator and go, hey, you didn't make as many parts as you're supposed to, we watched. And we found out that the operator had to move his own parts, the shipping, then he had to build his own box, bring that box back, put it back in, and then turn the machine back on. And what we learned from that, it's not the operator. That 12 minutes of downtime was the company's fault. So we corrected that by having boxes made ahead and made sure that the operator knew, just keep running it, we'll take care of the other stuff. So it isn't always directly related to how fast you do it. Efficiency is more than just cycle time.
Absolutely correct. And Jack, knowing who you are, your history, the amazing background you have, the investment that you made in Rolar just a few years ago, would you recommend something like Datanomix for all the machine shops out there? Do you find that this benefit could be implemented across the board from small, medium, and large shops?
Absolutely. The data, like I said, is not up for discussion. Anytime you track manually, you track data. I've had it in a big company where we put people at a station and they track the data. Then the data doesn't match what actually happened. And we go, well, what happened? Well, that guy didn't record it like that person recorded it. So you've got that issue with that, but it makes it so that there's always a discussion about efficiency. So if I had it to do over again, I would have done it sooner. I know of a company that had looked at a program like Datanomix, and they looked at it from a budgetary perspective and all that, and they came back and said, you know, it's a great program, we're invested in the software, but we don't think it's in our budget because we have to buy automation and new equipment first, then we'll look at it in 2 to 3 years. And my first reaction is, shouldn't you know what your efficiency is on the machines you have and the automation you have before you decide to buy more of what you already have and you don't know what your efficiency is? Because without Datanomix, I can guarantee you there are very few shops that really know what their efficiency is on the manufacturing floor.
I believe that has to be a fact as well. I find that very difficult to find out without some machine monitoring like Datanomix, which allows you to do that. And talking with you, I also know that you mentioned I always have 1 or 2 machines on order. I know what's going on. I have my products, ready to go. I understand how much it costs me to do this versus how much I'm going to make from it versus the downtime, the way you have constructed Rolar here is incredibly impressive. And to convey this message to the audience watching right now, Jack has been doing this for a long time and just constantly transitions to different areas to learn and grow. And Rolar is his latest project, and the growth has happened in 6 years from 4 employees and 4 machines to 40 employees. I mean, this isn't just on a whim. This isn't just a guess. You know what you're doing, and Datanomix is a big part of your overall efficiency and your software platform.
Absolutely, it's a strategy. I came out of, my background is 21 years in a tier 1 automotive manufacturer. And when I left there 6 years ago and bought Rolar 7 years ago, that company did not have what this software will do. And they had all the money in the world to spend and develop it. I think they've probably developed it now, but that was 6 years ago, and this is off the shelf. It just works. There isn't anything else you have to do. It just works.
And with that being said, it just works. I think that is the closing statement to this incredible conversation. Mr. Jack Russell, you are amazing. Thank you for touring me around Rolar Products. On behalf of MTD, we wish you continued success moving into the future for however long you decide to continue doing this.
It'll be a while. All right. Thank you, Tony.
Always a pleasure,
Glad to
my
have
friend.
you here.